Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Cleveland Browns franchise. Today's episode is the second off-season for the Brownies, and we're hoping to make some improvements, especially by means of free agency. Yes, the NFL draft goes a long way for building development, but I've found the most success in free agency. Up first, though, is the Pro Bowl. I thought you'd be interested in the selections and results of the game, so here goes. At the helm of the AFC is our very own Matthew Stafford. He's one of 12 players that made the Pro Bowl squad for the AFC. I would think that out of a 52-man roster, 12 is not doing too bad. Leading the way for the NFC is Arizona Cardinal Carson Palmer. Here's a rundown of the players that made the squad from the Browns. From the University of Georgia, we have the previously mentioned quarterback Matt Stafford. At halfback, out of Utah State, comes Robert Turbin. From Mississippi State University, we have fullback Malcolm Johnson. From Baylor University, we have wide receiver Josh Gordon. And what a nice comeback from being on injured reserve last season. From the University of Wisconsin, we have left tackle Joe Thomas. The offensive line has made a great showing in this year's Pro Bowl. Up next is Joel Bitonio at left guard out of Nevada. And joining him at right guard out of Hobart University is Ali Marpet. I was a little surprised that Alex Mack wasn't selected for the center position, but maybe next season. Out of LSU comes left outside linebacker Barkevious Mingo. The Browns came close to sweeping the cornerback position with 3 of them selected. First up, from Oklahoma State University, we have Justin Gilbert. And next in line are our 2 cornerbacks from the University of Florida, Joe Hayden and rookie Vernon Hargreaves. I don't understand this. How the 4th cornerback on the roster made the Pro Bowl cut, I'm not sure, but we're going to go with it. And rounding out the field from the Browns is the rookie power leg from UCLA place kicker Ka'imi Fairbairn. And the result of the Pro Bowl this season? The NFC came out on top in this one, but not by much, a score of 26-20. Now let's take a look at the winners of the yearly awards. Who took home the top spot in each category? Your NFL MVP and Offensive Player of the Year is once again this season out of the University of Auburn, quarterback Cam Newton. Matt Stafford at least made the top 5 at number 5, but was unable to take home the MVP honors. The Defensive Player of the Year from Dallas, right outside linebacker Sean Lee. Offensive Rookie of the Year went to quarterback Carson Wentz from the Giants. It should be noted that the number 2 position went to Dak Prescott of the Ravens. I was 1 pick too late to snag him in last year's draft. Defensive Rookie of the Year went to Sua Cravens of the Bills, with Vernon Hargreaves getting an honorable mention in 3rd place. Matthew Stafford wins the Best Quarterback honor, and Darren McFadden from the Cowboys wins Best Running Back. The best wide receiver in the league was Antonio Brown, with Josh Gordon coming in 2nd. The Browns locked up the offensive lineman spot with Joe Thomas and Joel Bitonio filling the 2 top positions. Defensive Lineman of the Year goes to the left end from the Finns, Quentin Coples. The best linebacker and Defensive Player of the Year is Sean Lee from Dallas. The best defensive back is not a shocker, folks. Harrison Smith from the Vikes. In my estimation, he and Tyrann Mathieu were the two best defensive backs on the field this last season. The best kicker honor goes to Graham Gano of Carolina, and the coach of the year, after losing out to Bill Belichick last year, goes to Mike Pettini. Just goes to show that with the right general manager, me, a coach can do wonderful things. Next up is the retiring players. Who's going to say goodbye to the game this season? This year's notables are Antonio Gates from the Chargers, Julius Peppers from the Pack, and quarterback extraordinaire Tom Brady. After 17 seasons in the NFL, calls it quits. The only quarterback to win the Super Bowl 5 times. Not too shabby for a guy that was drafted in round number 6. What a career. Now comes the part where I have to decide whether or not to re-sign some of my players that need new contracts. First up is quarterback Mark Sanchez at a 74 overall. I think I can find a better backup for Matt Stafford than that. Brian Hartline and Tyreek Hill are gone as well. Ryan Schrader seemed to do all right after coming over from Atlanta, so, he was in his last year of his contract, which means that I need to re-sign him. So a 3-year deal for just over $12 million gets the job done. Mitchell Schwartz. Now, you have been trying to replace for 2 seasons now. I need to try to find someone younger that I can develop, so you're going to free agency. Nick Williams was in the last season of his contract as well when coming over from the Chiefs, and he gets a 3-year extension for $9.3 million. Randy Starks. You're just too old and an 82 overall to re-sign to a contract, so retire already, would you? That brings us to Barkevius Mingo, 89 overall at 27 years of age. I think that I need to hang on to you. 5-year deal worth $15.45 million gets it done. Last is Armandi Bryant, and at a 72 overall just isn't going to cut it for this team. Sorry, you gotta go. That brings us to the end of the player re-signings and leads us into the NFL draft. Remember that I skipped the first free agency period and lump all my undrafted and regular free agents into one. I think the game is a little more realistic with the NFL draft that way. So on to the NFL draft. With the first pick, the New York Jets, with a trade from the Texans, take quarterback Deshaun Watson out of Clemson. And with the next pick, the Redskins offer the Browns the number 2 overall pick for the Browns' first and second round picks, and I take that trade. I tried to stay with the Browns' draft choices in the real NFL draft, and that worked for the first couple of picks, but then it was a bust. But that means that I took defensive end Myles Garrett out of Texas A&M. Then the Bucks offered me pick number 11 for my rounds 3 and 4, so I took that trade as well. With that pick, Jabril Peppers from the University of Michigan was still on the board, so I selected him. Then I had a little wait and watched good player after good player drop off the board, getting a little nervous. Then the Packers offered me pick 28 of the second round for my 5th and 6th round picks, so I took that trade. Since the quality of player in those rounds normally isn't the best, I took the trade and chose out of UCLA speedster quarterback Fabian Moreau. And finally, with the 30th pick in round number 7, I drafted left tackle Avery Genesee out of Texas A&M. So my draft picks were Myles Garrett, Jabril Peppers, Fabian Moreau, and Avery Genesee. Now it was time to sign my draft picks and see if I had a decent rookie draft, starting with Myles Garrett. I've been burned too many times, giving a long, drawn-out contract to what I thought was a good player, only to find out that it was a bust. So instead of the 7 years that he wanted, I offered a 4-year contract in which I had to give up just over $33.5 million. Let's hope that he's worth the money in the long run, because from his starting overall, it seems like I got a winner. Next came the hard-hitting strong safety Jabril Peppers. He wanted 5 years, and I gave him 3. With an overall of 80, it would seem that I have a strong player to develop. Next up was Fabian Moreau. I hope to get a good return man out of the deal, because I think he is fast enough. I just hope that the rest of his stats are good enough to warrant being an explosive return man. He wanted 3 years and I offered him 2, but it cost me just over $8 million. A little more than I wanted to spend, but if I get a strong return man, it's well worth it. Lastly, it is left tackle Avery Genesee, getting a 1-year deal to test him out, and that may have been a good decision since he is only a 69 overall. Hopefully, 3 out of 4 won't be bad. That brings us to the end of the NFL draft schedule and propels us into the free agency period. From what I can tell, we still need a good wide receiver, a halfback, right tackle, quarterback, and then some solid competition for potential backup positions. Right off the bat, there was DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure why Houston would give him up, but if I can snag him out of that, oh my goodness, in my estimation, that would make this free agency a success. Offered him a 5-year deal, and now I get to wait. I then noticed that Mitchell Schwartz was the best right tackle available, and to get a younger player, I would have to dip into the 70s, and I wasn't willing to do that. So I offered Schwartz a 3-year contract, and then I got word that DeAndre Hopkins said yes. Ha ha! It took a $36 million contract, but I have him for 5 years and most likely a huge impact on my team. I then went to quarterbacks and saw Geno Smith and thought that would be a nice backup to Matt Stafford. And having another rocket arm wouldn't be a bad thing, so I offered him a contract. I also thought Trent Richardson would be a nice backup halfback, so I offered him a contract as well. I then got 2 confirmations back for Mitchell Schwartz and Geno Smith. Things were looking real good at this point. Next, I wanted to get some younger players at the defensive end positions, and since I had one in Myles Garrett, one more was needed. William Golston fit the bill, so I offered him a 3-year contract for just north of $9 million. If I get him, I should be set. I then got notified that Trent Richardson was good to go with his contract. From here on out, we're doing a lot of fill-in work to give the backups a little competition through the preseason and looking for some solid players for the practice squad. I then offered 1-year deals to Marquise Flowers, Craig Robertson, and Josh Robinson, and then got notified that William Golston had accepted my offer. At this point, I still needed a good backup for the free safety position and offered a contract to Raheem Moore for 2 years. I then got the report that Marquise Flowers and Craig Robertson both accepted my offers. I then offered a 1-year deal to both right outside linebacker Chris White and middle linebacker Jake Ryan. I then was told that Raheem Moore had accepted my offer. I then offered a 1-year contract to left outside linebacker Hau'oli Kikaha, defensive tackle Dominic Easley, left end Christo Bilakigi, and then was informed that Josh Robinson and Chris White had accepted my offer to become Browns. I then offered a 1-year contract to center J.J. Dielman, and then got word that Hau'oli Kikaha had accepted my offer. I extended a contract to Brashad Perriman for a 1-season deal, and then was notified that Dominic Easley and Jake Ryan accepted their offers. 1-year deals were offered to halfback James White and tight end Jack Doyle. Then came the final rush of accepted offers in J.J. Dielman, Christo Bilakidi, Brashad Perriman, James White, and Jack Doyle to finish out the free agency. So this is the roster that I will take into the preseason for year number 3 of the Cleveland Browns franchise. Much of it looks the same, but there are definite challenges being made at some of the backup positions. It remains to be seen whether or not Duke Johnson has improved enough to handle the halfback duties full-time, or a trade may be in his future. The addition of DeAndre Hopkins to the wide receiver crew strengthens this receiving corps considerably. There's going to be some fierce competition at the backup right end position with the addition of William Golston. Are we looking at some position changes from linebacker to lineman and vice versa before this is all said and done? There are 5 cornerbacks competing for 2 spots, so that should be interesting as well. We also need to keep an eye on strong safety Jabril Peppers' development. There's a 10-year difference between he and Dante Whitner. Will Jabril be able to develop fast enough to take over in a year or two? It should also be noted that there were a couple of players that qualified for restricted free agent status, and I didn't go after them with a contract. Wide receiver Taylor Gabriel is now the number 2 receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Kawan Williams is now the number 1 free safety on the Steelers roster, so we'll be facing him 2 times this next season. And our preseason schedule is littered with past playoff foes, the Super Bowl runner-up Cardinals, and I just wanted to play in Jerry World this season. Since I don't know what the regular season schedule is at this point, the best way to do that is to play a preseason game there. Thank you for joining me for the off-season number 2 of the Cleveland Browns franchise. Keep in mind that if you enjoyed this video, leave a like so that others can enjoy it as well. And if you would like to be notified when there is a new one, subscribe by clicking on my icon at the end of the video. In our next episode, we'll be visiting AT&T Stadium in Irving, Texas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Until then, I'm Husker Eurocat saying so long for now, and have a good day, everyone.